300 years ago, she was born and raised in the city under the protection of the church, far from the dangers of intrusion. She lived a happy life until the plague destroyed everything. Her grandfather fell ill, and residents began piling up lifeless bodies by the lake. People were dying before they could be buried. She was desperate to save everyone. Instead of becoming a savior, she ended up becoming a dark witch. She was unable to heal the dying patients, as she could only summon spirits to allow the living to say goodbye to their loved ones. While she was helping people, the church father appeared with 2 knights carrying chains and ordered them to capture her, as he believed she was the one who had brought this disaster. The knights tied her hands with iron chains and began dragging her body under the church's orders, as the church father thought she had harmed the village. She didn't know why these people were treating her this way. If she had been the person who had allowed the spirits to say their final goodbyes to their families. She was thrown into the lake, and due to the weight of the iron chains, she began sinking towards the bottom of the lake, causing the air in her lungs to gradually run out. All she wanted was to save them all, even though all she had been able to do was help the spirits say goodbye. While she was sinking in the lake, she began to wonder why the church was doing this if she hadn't done anything wrong. Lu Fan approached Xiao Yi, and while staring into her eyes, he began to caress her. Sun Ji and the others were left speechless, and while they were staring at Lu Fan, they started wondering how someone like Lu Fan could summon such a powerful dragon. Upon seeing the black dragon, Xiao Jia told everyone that they could now leave the secret realm. Lu Fan began to stare at the lake, and upon seeing bubbles emerging from the water, and realizing that the portal had not appeared, he revealed to the others that the boss was still alive. He told Xiao Jia that it was still too early to leave. Gradually, more bubbles started to emerge from the bottom of the lake, and slowly, the figure of the boss became visible. Until several seconds later, the boss of the secret realm shot out of the water into the sky. Lu Fan and Xiao Yi began to look up at the sky and wondered why the water had suddenly shot up into the air. The boss's body was surrounded by water. It extended his hands to both sides, causing the water to slowly start swirling around its body. Upon seeing this, Sun Ji began unsheathing his sword, and quickly everyone else assumed an offensive stance and prepared for battle. While Xiao Yi was staring up at the sky, she used one of her wings and covered everyone to protect them from a possible attack. At that moment, beneath the body of the Secret Kingdom's boss, a giant woman made of water appeared. She began to stare intensely at Lu Fan and the others with a murderous look. A status window appeared in front of everyone, revealing that this boss was called Duel's Resentment, and was in the second stage. It was level 25, and the difficulty of the boss had drastically increased from difficult to nightmare level. Its strength increased from 271 points to 286, its agility from 183 to 249, its spirit from 150 to 435, and its endurance increased from 266 to 399. The boss had several abilities. The first ability was called Lamentation Impact, which allowed it to release a curse of resentment. This ability caused the probability of instantly killing the target to decrease drastically. If the boss didn't activate instant death, then it could inflict great damage and potentially add effects such as body poison, bleeding, and stun. The second ability was called Deep Aquatic Pressure. This ability allowed the boss to manipulate the water from the lake to form a prison that would enable it to trap his targets. The third ability was called Body of Resentments. This ability allowed the boss to become immune to all physical damage. The fourth and final ability was called Will of Resentment. This ability allowed it to unleash an explosion of resentment that would awaken all the corpses in the secret realm. Upon reading the information displayed on the statistics window, Sun Ji unsheathed his sword and assumed an offensive stance. On the other hand, Xiao Jia and Qin Ku began to get scared. Miss Kai took out her dagger, and while staring fixedly at the boss, she started trembling and revealed to everyone that the boss was transitioning to the next phase. The boss extended its hands towards the sky and exploded in rage. It ordered Lu Fan and others not to think about escaping. The boss used a skill called Deep Aquatic Pressure, causing the giant woman made of water to throw giant water balls at them. Just before the giant water balls could reach Lu Fan, Xiao Yi used the immunity skill called Restriction and blocked the attack using one of her wings. Lu Fan was shocked to see this, and a system window appeared to inform him that the skill called Black Dragon Lineage had been activated. This skill reduced all damage by 50% and made her immune to all harmful effects. Additionally, her self-recovery ability increased by 500%. One of the water balls thrown by the boss fell near Miss Kai. Luckily, she reacted in time and jumped away from the area. But at that moment, the water started advancing towards her at high speed, and in a blink of an eye, it began creating a prison around her body. Upon seeing this, Kin-Kyu began to wonder what was happening. Miss Kai started attacking the water with her dagger, but no matter how hard she tried, she was unable to do any damage because the boss had activated a skill called Resentment Body that made it immune to all physical attacks. While she was striking the water with her dagger, Sun-Ji stared at it and started wondering what was happening. Several minutes passed and she continued attacking, but upon realizing that her attacks were having no effect, she gave up. She closed her eyes and apologized to Kin-Kyu as she thought her death was near. Upon hearing this, Kin-Kyu approached her and while staring into her eyes, she explained that she should be the one apologizing. She fell to the ground, with one hand holding onto the magic staff and the other supporting herself on the floor. With a lost look in her eyes, she looked down at the ground and explained to Miss CIA that all of this was because of her insistence on coming to this secret realm. She also added that now everyone was trapped here because of her and they would never be able to leave. Lu Fan turned around, put a hand on his waist, and while looking at Xiaoyi's wing, he asked Kin-Kyu if she was going to give up now that they had come this far. Another ball of water fell near Sun-Ji and in the blink of an eye surrounded his body, forming a prison made of water around him. Kin-Kyu stared into his eyes and explained that she was the only person in the group who could attack with magic. She also added that with the little damage she inflicted, it wouldn't be enough to defeat the boss. While Sun-Ji was holding the sword with both hands, he looked at the boss and explained to her that because the boss was immune to all physical damage, they couldn't even protect themselves. He asked Lu Fan if he could attack the boss with magic. At that moment, the boss activated a skill called Lamentation Impact. The giant woman made of water began reaching out towards Lu Fan. Seeing this, Xiaoyi used one of her wings and placed it in front of him to protect him from the attack. She clenched her teeth tightly and stared into Lu Fan's eyes to warn him that they were in danger. Lu Fan explained to Sun-Ji that he couldn't attack the boss with magic. Just before the attack could hit him, Xiaoyi released a strong breath towards the direction of the attack, preventing Lu Fan from receiving it. A system window appeared to inform Lu Feng that the immunity effect of the Black Dragon had been applied to instant death, corpse poison, bleeding, and stun. Lu Fan simply put his hands in his pockets and remained silent. Then another window of the system appeared to inform him that the Black Dragon lineage had caused all damage received to be reduced by 50%, making her immune to any harmful effects, and also increasing her self-recovery ability by 500%. He stared into the boss's eyes and with a smile, he revealed to Sun-Ji that he couldn't attack using magic, but his dragon pet could. Upon hearing this, everyone started looking at him with surprised eyes. Miss Kai was left speechless and referred to him as Dragon Tamer, explaining that the difference between him and the boss was too great. Taking advantage of their distracted conversation, the boss quickly moved its hand towards Lu Fan with the intention of attacking him by surprise. Upon seeing this, Lu Fan clenched his fist tightly, causing a fireball to appear in the palm of his hand. His eyes were emitting flames as he stared directly into the boss's eyes. He reassured Miss Kai not to worry, as the attributes of a dragon could not be compared to those of a human. As the boss slowly brought the water woman's hand closer to Lu Fan, it activated the skill called Lamentation Impact once again. The attack hit Xiaoyi, but once again a system window appeared informing Lu Fan that the Black Dragon's immunity effect had been applied against instant death, corpse poison, bleeding, and stun. And once again, another system window appeared to inform him that the Black Dragon lineage had been activated, causing all damage received to be reduced by 50%, making her immune to any harmful effects. Additionally, her self-recovery ability increased by 500%. While Lu Fan's body was surrounded by a fire aura, Xiaoyi's statistics dramatically increased. Her strength went from 968 points to 1258, agility went from 767 to 997, spirit went from 959 to 1246, and endurance went from 976 to 1268 points. He activated the skill called Dragon Inspiration, which allowed him and the dragon pet to inspire themselves. Once this skill was activated, it caused all attributes and attack power of the dragon to increase by 30%. He pointed his finger at the boss and while staring into its eyes, he gave Xiaoyi the order to use the Lava Blaze ability. She opened her mouth and began to expel a strong burst of fire towards the direction of the boss. In a matter of seconds, the burst of fire reached the body of the boss and slowly started to burn it. The Lava Blaze ability allowed the dragon to continuously emit flames forward, causing damage while healing itself. Xiaoyi's power was so great that in a matter of seconds, the entire sky was filled with flames of fire, gradually causing the body of the boss to disintegrate. Kin Q stood up, approached the edge of the lake, and upon seeing the incredible power of the dragon, she was left speechless. Xiaojia also approached the edge of the lake and while staring into the sky, explained to everyone that everything was over since the boss was completely destroyed. Due to the intense heat of the flames, little by little, the water prison began to evaporate. And upon seeing this, Miss CIA was left speechless. While Suji stared into the sky, he revealed to everyone that this power was simply that of a calamity. In a matter of seconds, the body of the boss from the secret realm began to break apart from within, due to the intense heat of Xiaoyi's flames. Several seconds later, the boss's body started to explode, causing a wave of flames to spread in all directions. At that moment, the boss used a skill called Resentment Will, which allowed it to release bursts of resentment that would awake all the corpses in the secret realm. Gradually, the body of the giant woman made of water began to disintegrate, creating a purple smoke curtain. Several seconds later, the boss's body completely disintegrated and transformed into a portal, and a chest appeared on the ground. Xiaoyi returned to her human form and while flying in the air, she stared up at the sky and smiled. The level of the Black Dragon realm increased but the system still decided not to reveal it. Lu Fan put his hands in his pockets and while looking at Xiaoyi, he smiled and congratulated her for doing a good job. At that moment, a system window appeared to inform Lu Fan that his level had increased to 5. The boss's body exploded and a curtain of smoke spread everywhere. Kin Q quickly approached Miss Kai to see if she was okay. Sun Ji smiled and while looking at the boss, he saw the portal and told the others that it was all over. Xiaojia stood up and while coughing due to the smoke, asked Miss Kai if she was okay. At that moment, Xiaojia and Sun Ji heard a sound. Quickly both turned around and were shocked. Behind them appeared the village zombies, who had been resurrected thanks to the boss's ability. Little by little, the zombies began to approach them. At that moment, Sun Ji looked up and was surprised to see Xiaoyi. He started wondering what was happening. She started moving quickly towards the zombies, opened her mouth, and activated the lava blaze ability. She flew over the zombies and began to unleash a burst of fire from her mouth, causing the zombies to slowly disintegrate. Sun Ji raised his head and while looking at Xiaoyi, he was left speechless and asked Kin Q if she was the giant dragon. Kin Q also started looking up at the sky, and upon seeing how Xiaoyi was effortlessly dealing with the zombies, she was left speechless. She couldn't believe that she was finishing off the zombies that had been so difficult for them to defeat with such ease. Lu Fan approached Kin Q and with a smile explained to her that Xiaoyi was the Black Dragon. He also added that she was able to deal with those minions as if it were a game. While Kin Q was watching Xiaoyi annihilate all the zombies, Lu Fan turned around and while looking into Sun Ji's eyes, smiled and asked Kin Q not to get so tense since the boss was being taken care of. He also added that after distributing the rewards, they could prepare to leave. As he approached the chest, he smiled and explained to them that following the rules, he would choose first. After saying this, he asked if anyone had any objections. Kin Q replied no and also asked why he thought someone would have an objection. This is the end of the video. If you guys want to see the next part, then don't forget to subscribe and like the video.